What are some of the reasons for clawbacks, right? So incorrect coding or billing errors. I always say this, and I don't mean to be a jerk, but if you bill something incorrectly and it gets paid, that is not a shoe in that nobody's coming back for the money. So a lot of you guys might bill with certain codes that maybe I told you not to bill with, and then you're frustrated with me because you get paid and you're like, nah, 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 nah. But the reality is, if you bill incorrectly, then they can come back. Number two, if the service is not deemed medically necessary upon later review. So maybe you get, a medical request, audit, or maybe in order for them to pay you, they want to see the notes. They've already paid you on that. They can come back later, obviously, and ask for the money if it was not medically necessary. The provider was not credentialed or active at the time of service, right? So, like, you thought you were actually contracted, but you just went through the credentialing process. You didn't have an actual contract. That could be a reason for a clawback. Like you're just not active in the system, and by accident, they thought you were. Retroactive policy changes or insurance terminations. I would say that's probably the most popular one. Um, Patient gives you the wrong insurance for several visits. And then the insurance company comes back years later and is like, hey, PS, like you billed Blue Cross Blue Shield. Now you really need to bill Aetna. And there's a whole process. Those are things I teach in my coaching program and kind of how to work through those. And then audit findings where multiple claims were viewed and overpayments were identified. So how does it work? In my experience, for the most of the clawbacks I have received, you get a letter in the mail. I probably should have just had one. I have one right now. And then it's got like an envelope, and then it has like, you were overpaid on this person. This is the reason why. And then on the bottom, it has like a tear off where you can essentially put like a check in. Or you might elect to have the insurer deduct money from future payments. We call this an offset, but they may, like I said, they may want to be paid directly. So I know that part is frustrating, but I always, even if I thought I was overpaid, I wait for the letter or I wait for the fax. Generally speaking, something comes by paper. That's why it's important that the addresses that you have on file with the insurance companies are actually legit.